In 1873, the United States fell into a serious economic depression. During the next 4 years, millions of workers received pay cuts, and about one-fifth lost their jobs. Workers rebelled because they did not like the way they were being treated. This resulted in violence for workers' rights.
The Baltimore and Ohio B&O Railroad declared a wage cut of 10% in July of 1877. On the day they would get the pay cut, B&O workers in Martinsburg, West Virginia refused to run the trains. No labor union had organized a strike. Workers in many other cities and industries joined in the strike. In several cities, state militias battled angry mobs, and President Rutherford B. Hayes called out federal troops. Dozens were killed before the 2-week strike ended. The strike did not prevent the pay cut, but it showed how angry workers had become. During 1884 and 1885, railroad workers went on strike again. This time, the Army went on strike against the Union Pacific and 2 other railroads. Strikers were members of the Knights of Labor, a labor union that helped fight for workers' rights. They gained nationwide attention when they won their strike, and thousands of new workers joined the union.
George Pullman was the owner of a company in the far southeast side of Chicago that built sleeping cars for railroads. He was a visionary who thought he had solved modern-day industrial society problems. He owned a town 9 miles south of Chicago city limits where he had 20,000 employees and families live in rows of houses together, which insulated workers from baleful influences of the city. There were nearby stores and schools for the families that lived there. In 1893, Chicago was the host for the World Columbian Exposition, so Pullman made special trains bringing visitors from around the world to see Pullman's village. In 1893, the rent to live in his town was the same. Pullman's workers went to the American Railway Union, which was holding its national convention in Chicago. The union voted to support the Pullman strike and hold its members not to handle any trains containing the Pullman cars. By July, there were sympathy strikes in 23 states. Violence had caused President Grover Cleveland to order federal troops to intervene, and the strike collapsed. Eugene Victor Debs, the union's president, was imprisoned. Afterward, he became the founder of American Socialist Party. He ran for president 5 times, promising working men and women a better society in which to enjoy the fruits of their labor. Pullman died 3 years after the strike and was known for hostility toward the working class. In 1898, the Illinois Supreme Court ordered Pullman Town to be sold off. It ruled that a company in town was incompatible with the spirit of America.
In 1892, Andrew Carnegie reduced the wages of his steel mills in Homestead, Pennsylvania. The union refused to accept the cut, and the company responded by locking union workers from mills and announcing that it would only hire non-union labor. The company also hired 300 armed guards. In response, the locked-out workers gathered weapons. On July 6th, guards arrived and battle broke out. 10 people died. The Pennsylvania State Militia began to escort non-union workers to the mills. After 4 months, the strike collapsed, breaking the union.
On May 5, 1886, 3,000 men and boys stood around a platform around 8 o'clock in a meeting for the working men. The event originally started as a peaceful meeting between the working men and few socialist and anarchist leaders, as well as a peaceful protest against the killing of several workers that had died from previous protests and riots. The riot started when someone started a fire in the Crane Brothers manufacturing establishment on the opposite side of the street from the officers. There was an explosion and a small fire started on the streets. Due to this, several police officers were wounded and the police opened fire on the crowd, killing many in the meeting. 2 police officers were killed and 21 others were wounded. 50 or more of the strikers were dead and wounded. It was believed that one of the anarchists had thrown the bomb that had first killed and wounded several policemen. A national prejudice quickly ensued the Haymarket affair, and several anarchists, socialists, and union leaders were arrested and/or sentenced to death penalty without a trial, resulting in increased opposition to laborers' unions and the overall weakening of several labor unions across the country.
Those events were the result of workers fighting for their rights. They were receiving pay cuts because of the depression, but other costs weren't lowered. Workers protested to show their feelings and try to get better wages. They are important in US history because it gave workers more rights and protected their rights for the future.